we got you calling me Parker. I mean, truly, I almost feel bad that you're this flustered.
Understand what that even
I'm in 5th grade because I'm giving you formally valid and sound argumentation against the points you're making. I don't feel bad in the slightest. So just to clarify, you do agree that Trump is a madman?
No, I don't agree Trump is a madman. Could we talk about policies, or is this a talk show about Trump?
Oh, well, yeah, it's a talk show about Trump and his policies and his character. Now,
So
I want to investigate that claim. One moment. I want to investigate that claim. You just said that he's not a madman, but you do agree that he has called for the execution of his political opponents for no good reason? If that doesn't make somebody a madman, then what does?
So for us to litigate the claim of no good reason, there would need to be due process. Seeing as how this was a tweet, there's no point in us taking it any further because there's no court case. It wasn't a speech. There wasn't any action behind it.
That was a stupid thing. You just said in order for us to litigate the claim of no good reason, there'd have to be due process. Are you saying that if I just baselessly accuse you of being a child rapist right now, that in order to litigate the validity of that claim, you need to go to court for it? I don't think you would. I don't think that you would need to go to court on the basis of a frivolous and nonsensical allegation in order for us to litigate that claim as being false. I don't think you need to go to court for that. I think that we could probably use our faculties of reason to conclude that that allegation based upon its baseless and frivolous nature is obviously not true, irregardless of due process. The same way that we could litigate irregardless of due process that the claim made against these Democrats was frivolous and untrue due to the fact that they literally just repeated what the law says. Like the whole, you don't have to follow a legal order things. That's what the law says. Yeah. Reading the law, okay, is not something that's treasonous, and I don't need a court to prove that to me. And you probably don't even accept the outcome of court cases, unless you think that Trump is a rapist, because you do accept the outcome of the court case that litigated that. Oh, wait, so that would make him a madman, too. I have you. Wait. I'm making the argument that you should consider him to be a madman because he called for the execution of his political opponents with no good reason. And then you're like, oh, well, that would have to go to court. We would have to see what the court says. Oh, wait, well, if we trust what the courts say, then he's also a madman because the court said he's a rapist. So and by the way, just for the chat, irregardless is a real word. It is in Merriam-Webster. Look it up. I'm being serious. It is. Go ahead.
You don't ever run out of breath, do you, Dean? So,
nope.
First of all, there's a reason why we have an entire branch of government dedicated to interpreting the law. If I go online right now and say that I have the right to unalive a police officer, technically speaking, that is just me repeating the law. But if I say it in front of a police officer, that would be aggressive behavior. So there's a reason we have branches dedicated to interpreting the law. So just saying, oh, well, it's the law. That's not a dunk. That's not a gotcha. So could we move on to a serious point, Dean?
It is a gotcha. It is a gotcha. You couldn't be arrested for saying, I have a right to defend myself from an imminent deadly threat, even if said imminent deadly threat was a police officer. You couldn't be arrested for saying that. That wouldn't be illegal to say.
So if a police officer breaks into your house and the first thing you say is, I have a right to unalive you, do you think that needs to go to court if the police officer then says, well, I have the right to arrest you now because you threatened me?
Okay. So I think you'd need to go to court under the motivations insofar as why they said this, because the context is not clear. Okay. But even that's vague. But that's not the adequately analogous case here. The adequately analogous case here would be to say, not standing in front of a police officer, I have the right to unalive anybody who purports an imminent deadly threat to a reasonable extent as determined by courts to my personal safety or to my person. Because these Democrats in Congress didn't say, members of the military, you have a right to disobey Trump. No, they said, members of the military, you have a right to disobey Trump if and only if he gives you an order that's illegal.
So, Dean, I'm just going to move on to my point. So how do you feel about the fact that 60%?
So what is it? You accept that Donald Trump is a madman?
I can't characterize him. You're just talking,
You
Dean.
can't
This is
characterize somebody
sad.
as a madman. Is Hitler a madman?
Are you here for an intellectual debate, or are you here to
In
gossip?
intellectual debate, we don't dodge.
You're gossiping, sir. You're a
By
grown man. Act like
okay.
a grown man.
Okay. So when your history teacher in school says that Hitler was a tyrant, was that just a little schoolgirl gossiping?
He can bring up policies that
Oh,
Hitler
okay. But
passed.
if your history professor just says that Hitler was a tyrant, would that be a little schoolgirl gossiping?
Obviously not.
Oh,
Can
okay.
we talk about policies being
Okay. So calling people madmen or tyrants or tyrannical predicated on like the actions in which they engage in while holding public office isn't, schoolgirl gossip. Okay. So, yeah.
I never thought I would have to beg a TikTok debater for an intellectual debate. This is sad.
It's not that you're begging a TikTok debater for an intellectual debate. It's that you're begging a TikTok debater to dodge. Why would I let you do that? Okay, you have two options here. Either concede that Trump is a madman because he called for the execution of his political opponents with no good reason, based on the reason that I provided you, or if you want to stand 10 toes down to the fact that you think it needs to go to court first, and then you'll accept the outcome of the court case, then accept that Donald Trump is a madman because he raped a woman as determined by the outcome of a court case, which you are now bound into accepting. Which one is it going to be?
So I would say that Trump is not as measured as we would like politicians to be.
Oh, but I didn't
That
ask
is
you if Trump was
that is
as
my
measured
stance.
as we'd like politicians to be. I asked you if Donald Trump is literally a crazy madman because he either raped somebody and or called for the execution of his political opponents with no good reason. That's what I asked you. Don't get confused, my friend.
So to answer that question directly, I would say that Trump does have flaws, and if you would classify,
I didn't ask you if Trump does have flaws. I asked you if he's a crazy madman for raping a woman and or calling for the execution of his political opponents with no good reason.
So the individual, yes.
Okay.
His policies, no.
Okay,
So
I'm going to
could we
give you an
talk about
argument.
his policies?
I'm gonna give you an argument, and I want you to respond to it. You shouldn't support Trump because he just wants to kill people that disagree with him. What's your response to the argument?
My response is that until it happens, I'll support his policies. Simple. Could we talk about those policies or
so
or what
explain
it-
to us why it's not reasonable to stop supporting a politician because they want to kill people that disagree with them? Because your response, like, oh, until it happens, I won't care. No, we should care before it happens. God damn it. This is our country on the line. We need to be proactive, not reactive. What have we learned from history about reactivity? I think we learned a really big lesson about reactivity in World War II. Oh, we're just going to be reactive from any threat from Germany. We're just going to isolate ourselves and be reactive. We're not going to be proactive to like stop 12 million people from getting systemically slaughtered and killed. No, we're going to be reactive to any threat to us. No. If we've learned anything throughout history, it's that reactivity to tyrants is a failed plan. Do you
That's
agree?
the same exact logic Obama used in Libya.
Do you agree? I just want to know. Do you agree?
No, I don't. I don't agree. I believe in freedom, which is why Trump pulls us out of these countries.
Oh, you believe in
that
freedom?
The Democrats.
You believe in freedom?
destabilized. Obama destabilized Libya.
Okay. He did. That was a bad thing about Obama. I'm further left than the Democratic Party. So you believe in freedom, you said?
That's exactly what I said, Dean.
Oh, okay. But then when it comes to the 66 million American women and girls who had their freedom to access healthcare taken away from them downstream of the Trump
Is
administration,
this
you don't give
not
a fuck,
sad?
right?
You just jumped from like 5 points and
No, you made a point about freedom. I thought I'd bring up one of the biggest obfuscations and suppressions of freedom in modern American history. Donald Trump infringed on the freedom and access to healthcare of 66 million American women and girls. You make a claim, you assert a value, you say you value freedom. I say here's a great example of Donald Trump suppressing freedom. That's not a pivot. That is a direct response to you proclaiming a value of yours. So are you going to respond to the response to the proclamation of your value, that you value freedom? Is that something you plan to do, or are you going to dodge this as well?
So when I say I value freedom, I mean free markets. I value freedom of education, school choice. I value things like economic.
So you value free markets, but not free people. Can we even have a free market without free people? I
Dean, you
think
thought
that I
that was
think
the
that
bar?
suggestion in of itself is paradoxical. I don't think that we could have a free market without free people. By encroaching upon the freedom to access healthcare on behest of the 66 million American women and girls, we are thereby limiting their freedom in the market because they no longer get to choose when they enter or leave the market. Now they're forced to leave it as onset by a pregnancy that they don't desire, that they don't want, due to the rights infringements behest of the state. But regardless, I just want you to answer my question. Are you telling us that you care about free markets, but you don't care about free people?
I care about both, sir. So
Okay.
since
So
you
if
want
you
to
care about
pivot
free
to
people,
abortion
then
so
why
bad,
don't you care about the 66 million American women and girls who've had that freedom taken away from them?
I actually am pro-choice. My whole distinction is, though, that there's no moral difference between a miscarriage and an abortion. So could you give me the specification, the biological difference between a miscarriage, where we say, oh, that's a bad thing, and an abortion, where we say, oh, yay.
Yeah. The reason why we say that a miscarriage is not a bad thing, but a sad thing is because motivationally speaking, it could like invoke negative emotions in the pregnant woman if she wanted to keep the pregnancy. Very similarly, we could also say that it could be a bad thing because that pregnancy had instrumental value insofar as it served as means to the end of the future of the pregnant woman and the family that she desired to start. So by by that miscarriage occurring, okay, we're going to be infringing on the means in which that pregnancy served to the end of the pregnant woman. And of course, it's just going to motivationally invoke a bunch of really sad emotions that are contrary to the flourishing of that pregnant woman. And of course, these would be the symmetry breakers in the case of an abortion to a miscarriage.
So if a woman had a miscarriage, Dean, would you say that, oh, it's okay, it was just a clump of cells anyways? Would you use the same logic you use towards abortion and zygotes and all those things? Would you just say, oh, it's just a clump of cells? Don't cry over that miscarriage.
Yeah, so I don't think that you're tracking what I'm saying. It's true that there's no difference in the innate moral status of a fetus that's miscarried and a fetus that is aborted. In both circumstances, there was not a being with innate moral privileges that was killed. Okay? But the difference between the scenario has to do with the instrumental value that that fetus held as it would relate to the miscarriage, as well as the motivational causation of negative emotions such as sadness that conflict with flourishment. And that would be the symmetry breaker of the case of a miscarriage compared to an abortion. Would you like me to describe to you what these concepts are because you've clearly never read into them before?
No, I understand, Dean. I told you I was
Oh,
pro-choice.
good. Well, if you
So,
understood, well, then you wouldn't be re-asking me this question of what are the relevant differences between miscarriage and abortion.
Dean, could I make my